We have a major injury update on one of the most important young New York Jets players. This is absolutely perfect. We got to break it all down. So what's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Jets Digest. Before we hop into the video for today, only 37.8% of viewers are subscribed to the channel. So if you are not subscribed, please take a second, hit that subscribe button. It really helps me and Chris out a ton. But hopping directly into the video that we got for today. The news coming from Twitter, the Twitter of one specific New York Jets defensive end, that being Mr. Jermaine Johnson II. He tweeted out, hitting explosion testing PRs, pre-injury included. We are so back, chat. Now, Jermaine Johnson, of course, the 2022 third first-round pick of the New York Jets. We just watched Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson from his draft class sign massive contracts, more money than a lot of people thought they were going to get. And Jermaine Johnson is no doubt looking for a big contract for himself. The problem is he is coming off of that torn ACL, but we are getting good news this morning. He is getting his best numbers that he's ever gotten in the NFL on his explosion testing, even from before he went down with that torn Achilles last season. Now, this is very important because the Achilles is an injury that if you've been watching the NBA, you know how it happens. Or if you watch, Jermaine Johnson or the NFL, you know how it happens when people push off their lower leg and the calf just pops. It's a really bad injury. It takes a while to recover from. And some people never are able to recover from it, which is why it's so important that Jermaine Johnson has continued to produce these positive updates with his recovery. This has not been the first tweet coming out from him about his recovery, but all the other things that he said has been like, I'm doing well, this is going well, which is good to hear, but it's not as concrete as him actually getting some hard numbers describing the fact that he is actually going to be very close to 100%. Even if he is getting these explosive numbers higher than he used to be, he can't be back to 100%. That's incredibly difficult to do. Yes, he's a highly athletic player, which is why he was taken in the first round out of FSU. But that is just too much to ask. So I'm not even going to ask for him to be at 100%, but he can be very close to 100%. Now, a lot of people are asking, Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson just got paid. Does that mean Jermaine Johnson is next for this offseason? My answer would be no. More likely than not, Jermaine Johnson will not be getting a contract increase this offseason. He's still under contract with the New York Jets for this year, and then his fifth-year option in 2020. What is that going to be, 6? So the 2026-7 season. So we have 2 more seasons for Jermaine Johnson. Because he has not had a massive breakout season like Sauce Gardner or Garrett Wilson, he is not going to be able to get a really big contract. And he, without a doubt, wants to prove that he is deserving of a very large contract like that. If we are going to take a look at his stats, even though he's a defensive end, he was still an athletic enough player to get a pick 6 in 2023. Although, of course, last season, his stats were almost non-existent as he went down in the first quarter of the season, meaning the first 4 games, not the first quarter of the first game. He's not Aaron Rodgers, but he obviously knows how much money defensive ends are getting paid in the modern NFL. And what's right for Jermaine Johnson and for the New York Jets is for him to come back this season and play as hard as he can and figure out exactly what his contract could be. The New York Jets are not going to pay him based off of 7.5 sacks because he, without a doubt, feels like he is better than a 7.5 sacks per game player. He has had 2 years of development, although hampered by his Achilles injury, since 2023. So he, without a doubt, feels like he's going to play better than that and earn a better contract. And if I'm the New York Jets, we always talk about how paying the players earlier is always better. In this situation, it would be better for the team to get more clarity on how injured he is and what he's actually going to look like coming back before they go ahead and bring him back. And there are some other options on this depth chart at defensive end other than just Jermaine Johnson. A lot of people like to forget about Will McDonald the fourth. One of the reasons why it's getting a little grim for Breece Hall's contract extension is because there are more guys after Sauce and Garrett like Jermaine Johnson, and especially like Will McDonald, who are going to be due big contracts over the next couple of years. Will McDonald had a absolute breakout season in his sophomore campaign last season, putting up close to double-digit sacks. The dude is looking like he will be a star pass rusher. I don't want to compare him to Hassan Reddick, even though that is a really, really good comparison for him, because obviously, absolutely hate Hassan Reddick after what he did for our team, which was nothing, create only headaches, create only problems. But after Jermaine Johnson, we are looking a little bit light at the starting defensive end position, so we are going to want this guy to come back stronger than ever. I mean, Tyler Barron, the rookie this year. We got Michael Clemens, who is built like an absolute monster, but unfortunately is not a monster on the field. He is a rotational backup piece. You know, Eric Watts, Braden McGregor brought in late in the 2024 offseason, and then Rashad Weaver was brought in late this year. Could be a sleeper, but he's one of Darren Mougey's low cost, potentially high upside signings, but taking a stance on any one of those signings and saying that guy's going to be a superstar, it's just not good process. So Rashad Weaver most likely isn't going to turn out into a long-term piece, although he always can. And I'm going to be completely upfront and honest when I say I have no idea and have never heard of Jamarcus Weston, but that is another player on the New York Jets depth chart, as according to ESPN. So now that we're seeing Jermaine Johnson, he is having these positive increases. He is clearly working hard behind the scenes, which was never really an issue with this guy. He interviewed very well coming out of 2023 in that draft. One of the reasons why a lot of people actually had him as their number 2 pass rusher, even though Will McDonald was in that draft class. Jermaine Johnson, some guys had them. I heard that some people had Jermaine Johnson as the number 1 pass rusher in that class, but with how good Will McDonald is, I don't know if those people are actually telling the truth. Although we know now that Jermaine Johnson is a highly athletic player and someone who is talented. You know, he's a very good complement for Will McDonald, because Will McDonald loves the speed rushes and the finesse moves, whereas Jermaine Johnson likes to just try to go right through the face of the tackle that is lined up across from him with his power moves. Although I'm very excited to see what Jermaine Johnson is going to be bringing to the table in 2025. No doubt, when players are in that contract year, that is when they are hungriest, and defensive ends, every single sack is the difference between millions of dollars for these guys. So Jermaine Johnson is without a doubt about to have his most focused and not most impactful, but he's revved up for the season. He's gassed up. He's excited. He knows what this season means for him, his family, and just the rest of his life. This is where he sets himself up. He's got to come back strong from this injury, but currently it is looking exactly like that is happening, and that is exactly what we needed to hear. The New York Jets this offseason has looked pretty good. I've seen a lot of people getting excited, namely on Instagram. They're saying they're excited that it looks like the front office is functioning. That can't be the bar. The New York Jets, we have to have a higher standard for our front office than just functioning. I understand it hasn't looked good in the past, but there have been times where it has been good with Joe Douglas, and then obviously it didn't translate to wins on the field. We got to actually get some wins before we go ahead and start crowning anybody for any moves, although this last week has looked like a very good week for the New York Jets with Garrett, Sauce, and now Jermaine Johnson getting positive news. Next update should be something on the Elijah Vera Tucker front. Breece Hall, I want to see him get re-signed, but it's getting rough. Money is starting to run out. With the committee backfield, that means Aaron Glenn is putting less of a premium on running backs. If the team is not ready to compete, it doesn't make any sense to hang on to Breece Hall. So Breece Hall, what makes a ton of sense for him is wait 6 games, and based on what our record is, you would trade him or re-sign him. If we were looking really good, then you re-sign him. 4-2, re-sign him. But if we're 2-4 or 1-5, that's when you would go ahead and have to trade Breece Hall. It makes no sense to hang on to a really good young running back when you are not a good team. The running back has to be the final thing, the final piece of the puzzle on your football team, just to put you over the top, just like the 49ers did with Christian McCaffrey, like the Eagles did with Saquon Barkley. If we're not in the right position to add Breece Hall to our team or to maintain Breece Hall, we would then have to go ahead and pick up whatever we can go ahead and get for him. If the New York Jets are not good this season, makes no sense to re-sign Breece Hall to a long-term deal, which is unfortunate because he's a very good player. That's what I got for today. So if you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new. And as always, go Jets.